Hello everyone, and my dear subscribers. I was working on a Bard class guide for this week's upload, but then the update happened. And consequently, I'm gonna have to hold off on the Bard guide because it seems like there's going to be some changes to the Bard's meta engravings. I'll probably post a video in about a week or two. Moving on July 28th of 2021, a lot of contents were updated, which include the new Legion raid, a Railshud, Car Eligo's Guardian raid, a new stage of Chaos Dungeon, addition of Bracelet to the lineup of accessories, and revised/newly added engravings. Today, I'm just going to discuss about the changes to the engravings and add little comments based on the LOSTARK website and my experiments in the Trision. Let's start with the revised engravings. I'll leave the Korean LOSTARK website link in the comments section, and what you can do is use the Google Translate extension to translate the pages. I must say the translation is pretty accurate. First, the Ether Predator looks like an alternative DPS engraving to engravings like Cursed Doll and Stable State. The damage is pretty similar with 30 stacks, but the issue is the time consumed to build up the 30 stacks and maintaining it. Second, the Crushing Fist caught the attention of the support classes with good counter skills due to the new effect of damage increase. But the damage increase is only for 3 seconds after the counter, so the general view on this engraving is that it won't be very effective. Third, the beater engraving seems like it's going to be used by some bards who want to maximize the buffer roll. However, there is a debate going on about which existing engraving to replace it with, as most of the bards are using heavy armor for defense or spirit absorption for extra agility and casting speed. Some parties would prefer a beater bar for the extra buff, but some parties will not favor this as there's a trouble of having to run around for the randomly dropped ether. 4. The increased mana recovery and the 5th, flow of mana are not being discussed by any class at the moment. Increased mana recovery has a penalty of having to keep the mana below 50% constantly for 3 to 12% increase of the damage, which can be pretty difficult. Flow of mana has 3 to 10% skill cooldown effect when not hit by the enemy while you reach the maximum level of mana recovery effect of 5 to 15%. This engraving is troublesome in its own way because it has a condition of when not hit by the enemy. This might work if your mouse control is at an AI level, but looking at the end contents from recent updates, it would be very difficult to fully utilize the engraving. So, that ends my briefing on the revised engravings, and now let's look at the newly added engravings. 1. Mass increase. Attack speed decreases by 15%, but your strength increases by 4, 10, 18%. This is my normal destroyer. Now let's have a look at my destroyer with this engraving. That was funny. Despite the horrible 15% attack speed decrease penalty, a few class users are considering this engraving. It's not for every class, but few classes who are already too quick might be able to use this engraving. For example, the Solfest class has increased attack speed for level 3 identity, so it does kinda equal out. Plus, it may be too early to judge, but I think that this engraving is not gonna be very popular, meaning they'll be pretty cheap to set up. So, some people who want a DPS at a cheaper cost may use it as a last resort is my take on this engraving. Driving Force. Skill damage increased by 3, 8, 16% for 5 seconds after using moving skill. the spacebar, but the skill excludes auto attack and awakening skill. This sounds reasonable as most spacebars have cooldown time of 5 to 8 seconds. But you might have to use it at the risk of taking a hit from the enemy, as spacebars are frequently used for evading enemy attacks. I suppose it could be used by fighter classes as they have extra movement skills, but then again, it won't be applied for the awakening skill, so there are better engravings to use than this one. Master of Striking. Damage of skills without head/back attack perks will increase by 3, 8, 16%. This is actually pretty hot engraving for classes like Gunslinger, Sharpshooter, Summoner, and probably for Sorcerers when it comes out. A very useful engraving for classes without many head/back attack skills. All Eyes on Me. You can literally macro set any word plus exclamation points to activate this passive. This will give you 8 to 28% increase in damage for one skill. It seemed like a perfect engraving for Destroyer's Perfect Swing and tried it out in Tricion for a while. Conclusion, it does increase the numbers on the Perfect Swing, but as far as DPS is concerned, the engraving really is just an aggro. But because the engraving has cooltime of 30 seconds and is only for one skill per activation, it means I'm giving up the other 16% constant attack buff on all of the other skills. Maybe I can do level 1 engraving of this All Eyes on Me if I get really lucky and get a 9/7 ability stone later on, just for the 8% and the comedy. Adrenaline. For every skill performed, you get a stack of 1% attack power increase up to 6 stacks. And when it reaches the 6th stack, the critical chance will increase by 15%. The effect lasts for 5 seconds, but they can be maintained with another skill. This could be a good engraving for Solfest or other classes who needs a little lift on the critical chance. Here's how it works, and please pay attention to the buff icon right above the character's health bar. The stacks will be applied at the end of the skill motion and it doesn't have to hit the enemy. However, it doesn't seem to do more damage than the old 16% damage engravings such as the Curse Doll. In addition, having to worry about the stacks can be really annoying, so if you aren't a class user with multiple hit points and low skill cooldowns, stay away from this engraving. Classes like Arcana seem like the right class to use this engraving. Fastpaced. This engraving looked like an engraving for Summoner when I first saw this engraving, but when I spoke to a buddy of mine who has a 1525 Summoner, he said, and I quote, "Summoner's real damage comes from the Seduction Relic set effects at the moment, so getting an engraving for 1 or 2 holding skills instead of constant 60% DPS engraving will actually result in decrease in DPS. This is probably an engraving for Sorcerers when it comes out, and the Summoners will be extinct soon." Specialist. Shield and HP recovery effects used on self and party members are increased by 24%, and when the target's HP is below 50%, this effect is increased by an additional 12%. This engraving is causing a heated conversation in the Bard forum, and it's about, do bards need to go for this engraving for more heal effect to the Desperate Salvation? Some people are saying yes because this engraving goes really well with Paladin's heal skill, and bards shouldn't fall behind them. On the other hand, people are also saying there is no need to go for this engraving because they barely use heal in an experienced party and prefer to use the Truthful Bravery buff instead of heal. I personally agree with the latter. Emergency Rescue. When HP is less than 30% due to being hit, a shield of 50% of maximum HP is created for 6 seconds. If the shield is not destroyed when the effect ends, 50% of the remaining shield's HP is recovered. This looks like an engraving for GVG or PvPs excluding the arena, which will save you one time because of the 300 seconds cooldown. Precision Dagger. Increases critical hit rate by 20% but reduces critical damage by 20%. This engraving looks like it's for classes with high critical damage increase perks with low critical chances. but I think those classes will rather take the DPS engraving rather than this iffy engraving. As my last words for this video, I hope this video helps you better understand about the engraving update. I will further update you guys if there are any new developments. That's all I have for today. Thanks for watching. Bye bye.